The Bengals looking to run to daylight with Joe Mixon and company. Mike Petraglia inside Paycor Stadium. Here on Thursday, the Bengals were back on the practice field in shorts and shells, not in full pads, given the fact that it's a short week. Zach Taylor and company want the Bengals fresh and ready to go against the 2-6 Panthers this Sunday, 1 p.m. here inside Paycor Stadium. Bengals desperately need a victory. I think that goes without saying. They are 4-4 coming off that hideous 32-13 loss on Monday night in Cleveland. But for some perspective, if the Bengals can win here on Sunday, they will match their 5-4 mark heading into the bye. Last year, when they caught fire, of course, beat the Las Vegas Raiders coming out of the bye and were off and running on a track that led them to Super Bowl 56. They got hot in the second half of the season and played well at the very end and then caught fire in the playoffs. Can the Bengals repeat that formula? A win here on Sunday over, again, the 2-6 Panthers, a game they really should win. That would put them on that same path. So that's what the Bengals' mindset is this week. Just one game, win the one game heading into the bye, and then have a reset heading into the second half of the season. Well, one of the reasons the Bengals have been struggling offensively, of course, is the lack of a running game, a consistent running game. They have had moments here in the first half of the season where it looked like Joe Mixon and company were getting things together, especially from the RPO sets that the Bengals have turned to in the last 3 to 4 weeks. Brian Callahan, the offensive coordinator, made mention of that here on Thursday afternoon, that Joe Mixon, it doesn't all sit on his shoulders, to quote Callahan here on Thursday. It's got to be a collective effort. Everybody's going to want to blame Joe Mixon like they do want to blame the quarterback when things go well or when things don't go well. Everybody wants to blame the quarterback. Well, when there isn't production in the running game, everybody thinks that it is Joe Mixon's fault. Callahan was here to say on Thursday, it is most definitely not. One thing Brian Callahan did point out, Joe Mixon needs to improve in his pass protection. I think that is something that every Bengal fan has known about Joe Mixon the last several years. It's an area of weakness. Everybody can see it, as Callahan pointed out here on Thursday. He needs to be better in the pass protection game, and Callahan believes he can be better and will be better, and that will be a big part of the Bengals having trust to put him out there on 3-down situations, put him out there for every offensive series that they can instead of subbing in Samaje Perine. What did Callahan say about Samaje Perine? One of the best pass protecting running backs in the NFL. No question about it. And when you have a guy like that in obvious passing situations, it makes a lot more sense to have Perine out there than Joe Mixon, simply because you want to give Joe Burrow as much time to throw down the field to the weapons that the Bengals still have as possible. So that is the intricacy of the running game. Now, obviously, the Bengals need more than just 26 yards on 8 carries, as was the case from Joe Mixon on Monday night. Obviously, some of that had to do with the Bengals falling behind by scores of 11-0 at halftime and 18-0 just 6 minutes into the third quarter. You're not going to be running the ball as much. The Bengals need to do a better job of setting the tempo, setting the tone in the first quarter, much like they did against the Atlanta Falcons when they raced out to leads of 21-0 and 28-7. That's the blueprint for really getting the run game going and allowing Brian Callahan and Zach Taylor to draw up different types of runs, not only from the RPO, which has been successful, but also under center, which has not been as successful. So the Bengals in this game coming up against Carolina are going to want to get off to the quick offensive start we talk about every single week with the Bengals. This week it is particularly important because the Bengals certainly want to play more complementary football when you have Jamar Chase out of the game, obviously still dealing with hip injuries and hip issues. He will be out at least probably until early December. And now you're without your star starting cornerback, Chido Awuzie, who spoke here on Thursday afternoon, talked about all of the teammates showing the brotherhood and the love, visiting him in the tent after his knee injury on Monday night. Chido Awuzie saying that he still has faith in guys like Dax Hill and Cam Taylor-Britt to pick up the slack in the secondary, as well as Eli Apple, who, by the way, was back at practice, fully participating here on Thursday. That is a very good sign. So it would appear that Eli Apple will start at one cornerback position and probably Cam Taylor-Britt at the other on Sunday afternoon against Carolina. Other injury notes from practice. This is a bit of a concern as Joseph Ossai showed up and he was limited with an ankle injury. He was limited in practice. We'll see how much he is able to do and what he's able to do on Friday during the glorified walkthrough situation that the Bengals go through. So keep an close eye on Joseph Ossai and his availability heading into the game with Carolina. Also, Lael Collins missed practice here on Thursday. He is dealing with an illness, so that is something to keep an eye on. Mike Hilton, he was not at practice. He was at practice but didn't participate as he has his left pinky finger in a brace, a splint, I should say. It's protected. He was chatting with players on the sideline during the media availability portion of practice, keeping everybody's spirits high as he is wont to do. So Mike Hilton was there. Also, Trey Flowers, this is a good sign. He is dealing with a hamstring injury, but he was getting work in on the rehab field, running back and forth. So maybe there's a chance that the Bengals get him back on Sunday afternoon. If not, perhaps then the week back after the bye against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That would be the more likely possibility with Trey Flowers if he doesn't go here on Friday in the walkthrough. Lots happened here on Thursday afternoon. The Bengals will try to get everything together on a short week and beat the Carolina Panthers, a team that is 2-6 coming into Sunday afternoon's game. We'll have you covered on clnsmedia.com as always. Please follow me on Twitter at Trags, Trags, for the latest locker room reaction, as well as clicking on the link below and subscribe to the Jungle Roar podcast YouTube page. Want to hear all of your comments about the Bengals, good, bad, and indifferent. Inside Paycor Stadium, Mike Petraglia, CLNS Media.